Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Just after 11 o'clock in downtown Vancouver, it's Donnie and Dolly, the team on check, as we bring in TSN Scouting Director Craig Button. And we say Happy New Year to Craig and happy belated birthday to Craig.
Didn't know that.
As well. He just turned 39 the other day. How are you, Craig?
I am good, and you're, well, actually, I'm 59, but okay. 59, 42 is the new 59.
For us old-timers, we remember Jack Benny always saying he was 39 years old. Nobody remembers that. Maybe Craig does. Hey, Craig, you're a January baby. Bobby Orr, Connor McDavid, Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, all sorts of January babies in the National Hockey League. Stars, superstars. I know a lot of people have theories on that. Do you?
Well, the only theory I have is you just mentioned a whole lot of superstars, and I don't fit into that category. So I don't know. So here's the theory: you better be good at something, no matter what month you're born in.
Yeah.
I know there's been lots of theories. I think it goes back to development at younger ages to allow kids. In European soccer, and I know they're doing it with the Vancouver Whitecaps Academy. Ray Ferraro's told me about his son, who's a really good player, and they call it banding, where you get players that are in a band of weight and age group and everything, so that your development can continue on in a climate, in a group where you're not pushed out of areas, not because you're not good enough, because you're not strong enough, you're not advanced enough or mature enough. And we do it. You think about wrestling, you think about boxing, it's by weight class and whatnot. And I think there's always the idea about how do you create as much of a level playing field for players, for athletes, that are born in the early part of the year, they're a little bit more advanced than kids that are born later in the year that haven't had a chance to catch up. So, certainly at the younger ages, there is a real significant investigative work in trying to come up with a plan that could mitigate against that, because it does. There is an advantage to people born earlier in the year than later in the year.
Yep. Craig, the Oilers. We've been talking about that a lot today, even though we're a BC show. Do their problems go beyond goaltending?
Well, here's what I would say to you. Until your goaltending gets fixed, how do you know what your other problems are? Mm-hmm. Because that goaltending's like it's poor. It's poor. And goaltending isn't just what shows up in the game. And we can look at all kinds of evidence, whether you want to look at the stats, whether you want to look at plays that happen. The players all know. So they start in the morning. Like the Edmonton Oilers are going into their game tonight versus the Toronto Maple Leafs going, I wonder how our goaltending will be. They go for their afternoon nap. They're wondering how the goaltending. They wake up from their nap. They come to the rink. It creates such an unsteady walk with respect to, hey, listen, you know what? We're secure. We can just go and play. You're never sure. Donnie, I call it, it's like walking across a rickety bridge. You might get to the other side. It doesn't mean the bridge isn't rickety. But you think you're sprinting across there? You're looking for every stress point in that bridge to make sure you don't step on the stress point where the bridge collapses. That's the Edmonton Oilers goaltending. Their 5-on-5 play has been good. They haven't scored as much in recent games, and certainly that's going to impact you and whatnot. But overall, the goaltending is submarine them. And until you get that fixed, until you get that improved, it's not going to. You can't evaluate anything else. Let me take you guys back a little bit in time. I'm going to just take you back a little bit in time.
All right.
Do you know where the St. Louis Blues were on January 1st of 2019?
Dead last.
Dead last. So what did we think of the St. Louis Blues at that time? Do we think, they need a new coach, they need to make changes and everything? Their goaltending was terrible. So what did they do? They bring in Jordan Bennington. And all of a sudden, the St. Louis Blues, they're a pretty good team. Mm-hmm. They win the Stanley Cup. Why? Because they fixed the biggest problem they had, which is the goaltending. And until Kenny Holland fixes their biggest problem, it's going to be a problem, and the team is not going to be as successful as it could be.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Craig. There's no goaltending issues in Vancouver. Demko's been great. They're 8-0-1 under Bruce Boudreau. Your thoughts on the Canucks of late?
Well, I mean, like when you play to your strengths, and Rick, I talked about the Vancouver Canucks even when they were struggling. They had no problems with the goaltending. Thatcher Demko's a top-notch number one goaltender. He's, to me, no doubt in my mind that he's that guy. They have excellent offensive players. And Travis Green will learn from this. I'm convinced of it. Because I know Travis and I like, but he got into a mindset where we got to protect that weakness on the blue line. That weakness on the blue line hurt them everywhere else. It hurt them offensively. It hurt them with their best offensive players. It hurt them on the ice. It hurt them with their record. Bruce Boudreau comes in and goes, wait a second here. We got all these good offensive players. We got a really good goaltender. Until Jim Rutherford and his group come in and say we're going to add, and you've heard me say this, 2 defensemen. They don't need 1. They need 2 that can play in your top 2 pairs somewhere. Doesn't have to be a number 1. Those guys are impossible to find. They have one to use. But you play to your strengths. You play to your abilities. And, when you're trying to protect your weaknesses at the expense of your strengths, I'll tell you what ends up happening. You end up breaking down. And that's what happened to the Vancouver Canucks, in my view. I said it before they made the changes, and now Bruce Boudreau has just come in and reinforced it. Play to your strengths. And let me just add one more thing, Rick. The other thing what's really interesting is as they played more to their strengths, you know what they've been able to do? Their weaknesses haven't been exposed as much. Imagine that.
Yeah. No, good point. Craig, I want to ask you about JT Miller. He's been great. His contract's up in a year and a half. You still get these people, sell high, move them. This guy, contract's up in a year and a half. What would you do with JT Miller?
Well, here's what I would say. So his contract's up in a year and a half, not a day and a half. What do you have to do?
Yeah.
But why not? You have a player, celebrate him, right? Where are you going to, number one, where are you going to find a player like JT Miller?
Exactly.
So, okay, that's number one. Number two is, what do you have in your system, right, that could potentially replace JT Miller? And maybe there's somebody there. I don't see anybody there like that. But you allow those players now to develop outside the spotlight, right? And you don't have to make a decision. If somebody comes in, and I want to know what selling high is. Tell me what selling high is.
Yeah. Well, he's hot. He's hot.
Well,
you're going to get a lot for him. Sell high.
Okay, so let me tell me what a lot is, Rick.
Yeah.
Let's go through it. What's a lot for JT Miller?
First rounder, a prospect, a young player.
Okay.
So all that.
So a first round draft pick, if you do it right, that guy will help you in 3 years' time.
Exactly.
That's selling high, eh? So in the meantime, hey, Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson, don't worry. In 3 years' time, when that first round pick comes, you're going to be just okay. Horvat, yeah. You think that's selling high? That's selling stupid. Yeah. That's what that is.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about first round picks that are 3 and 4 years away from being able to be productive like JT Miller if everything goes exactly right. Not happening.
Yep, I agree.
It's a stupid argument, Rick.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Man, when you shoot up out of that chair, it's very effective, Craig. I got to tell you.
I thought you were coming after Donnie there for a second.
That's twice in this segment.
Love it.
Hey, Craig, is it possible to put into words your disappointment at having the World Juniors canceled?
Well, here's what I would say, Donnie. It is disappointing, but, despite, and I will say this, the 100% best efforts of everybody, sometimes events conspire against you. And that's exactly what happened with the World Junior Tournament. The Omicron variant came in. It came in rapidly. They tried to stay ahead of it. The protocols were in place. They couldn't be changed. And as much as everybody was trying to stay on top of it and stay ahead of it, Omicron was moving at a quicker speed than anybody could keep up to it. And ultimately, there was no other way but to cancel it. Now, I know Luke Tardif is optimistic and looking at, rescheduling and everything. And would that be nice? Yeah, it would be nice. There's a lot of different challenges with it. But, there are hundreds of volunteers, the Edmonton organizers, the Red Deer organizers. I was talking to Merrick Sutter, Brent's son, who does a lot of the work with the Red Deer Rebels and in this case with Hockey Canada for the World Junior Tournament. And he said, on December the 21st, they were looking at what can we do to push our ticket sales from 85% to 86 and trying to get more people. And that's what happened with Omicron. And just like I said, you might hear about a lot of different things. There was a tension around it from the day I arrived in Red Deer on the morning of the 26th, because you just didn't feel like that there was a real ability to stay ahead of Omicron. And ultimately, we got 2 days in. 2 days in, that's all it took. And once it fell apart, there was no way to get it back on track, and the IIHF had no other choice.
And by the way, I love it when you shoot out of your chair. Just so you know. One more, Craig. I mean, Connor Bedard ends the World Juniors as they were with the 4-goal game. Goes back to Regina, comes up with a 4-goal game. What are his greatest strengths? And of course, he's from around here.
What are his greatest strengths? Okay, so you probably have me slotted in here for 30 seconds, so I got about 3 minutes of his greatest strengths. The beautiful thing about Connor, and I said this, people ask me, wow, it's Austria. Oh, I know who they played when he scored the 4 goals. Why didn't everybody else score 4 goals then? If it's Austria and you want to diminish it, it's not right. Connor Bedard has a maturity on the ice that's far beyond what his birth certificate says with his age. His understanding of what opponents individually and collectively are trying to do against him. And then the skills are outstanding. The hands, the skating, he can speed up, slow down, he can shift. He understands how to solve problems on the ice. He sees what somebody's doing to him and he goes, okay, I know what you're doing to me. Deal with this. And he's so good at adapting on the fly. You got to be able to what I call adapting to changing circumstances on the ice. The great players do it better than anybody else. Connor Bedard's, he's in that category of great ability. And, when I first started to watch him play, I said, maybe there's some things there that remind you a little bit of Steve Yzerman. The more I watch Connor Bedard play, the more I see Steve Yzerman in him.
Big compliment. Craig, thanks so much. Happy birthday, Happy New Year, all of that. Thanks so much. Talk to you next week.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Yeah, have a great day.